Hi, everybody. Karen Roby and Adrian Kingsley Hughes here for ZDNet, talking today about some new updates that Apple has released. Adrian, certainly an important time to make sure we've got all of those updates taken care of, and with everyone working from home, or so many of us, and trying to keep things up to date there. So tell us first just about the updates, and then double checking for us that people should, in fact, install them.
Well, yesterday, we're getting used to the idea that coronavirus is basically stopping everything, shutting everything down, putting everything on go slow. But yesterday, Apple dropped a whole bunch of updates on people. Updates for the iPhone, the iPad, Macs, pretty much everything across the board except the AirPods. But the question is, all these updates, should people install them? Well, I've been looking at this, and what I decided to do was, yes, I was going to install them because I'm a risk taker partly, but also because if you do it properly, it's quite easy to make sure that nothing really catastrophic is going to happen. Main thing, backup. Never not have a backup. Two if possible. The other thing I always think is never rush these things. At the end of the day, I think, if you've got a meeting 2 hours down the line or something like that, do it at the end of the day. Do it when you've got a clear slate. I think the final thing is that let other people go first. I think, let people like me go first. If there's going to be any serious problems, Apple's going to be there releasing updates in the next few days anyway. From what I've looked, these are pretty straightforward. There's a lot of new features, especially for iPad users who want to use mice and so on there with their new iPad Pros and all that. That will be good for people who are home working. But I think also you could wait a few days and see what happens. There are some security updates here, but there's nothing that can't wait a few days before bad guys start pushing on the walls. So I think let other people go first. Play it safe. If you run into trouble, don't use Dr. Google. Consult your business's IT support or Apple support, and you're probably going to be okay.
All right, some good advice there. Give it a couple days at least. And Adrian, typically, do you find that people have they get a good response from Apple support when they get themselves into a pinch, maybe, or have a difficult time downloading some of these updates? Do they typically get what they need in terms of support from Apple?
Typically, I find Apple's pretty good. The main thing Apple can't help you with is if you lose data and you don't have a backup. That's you're into a world of hurt at that point. Apple can't help you recover passwords that you've lost. That's another one. But if you've got those things sorted out, Apple's pretty good at solving most problems. And worst comes to the worst, you wipe your device, you reload stuff, it's back to normal in a few hours. But that's not the sort of thing you want to be doing if you're in a rush, which is why I say make sure you've got a few free hours ahead, and just let the thing do its thing on the side while you're watching TV or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's definitely one of those things you don't want to do it at 10 o'clock in the morning when you're supposed to be logging in for meetings and all of that kind of thing, because things can certainly go wrong. All right. Well, Adrian, do you feel like with these updates, with so many people, as we mentioned, of course, working from home now, kids are working on their iPads in the home now and trying to do schoolwork and things. So, I take it none of these updates are earth shattering, as you alluded to, but can help nonetheless down the road.
Yeah, it's interesting that Apple's dropped so much so quick at a time when there's an awful lot of upheaval going on. I won From watching the developer previews that have been leaking out, I get the impression, well, I know that these things have been in the pipeline for quite a while. So what we're really getting, I think, is maybe the last of Apple's updates before coronavirus starts to slow things down. With the new iPad Pro on the way out, Apple did need to release this update in order to bring mouse support and peripheral support onto the iPad. So in some ways, this was to be expected, but it also raises some concerns for people who are maybe relying on their iPhone and their Macs at home more than ever.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I think, again, as you mentioned from the beginning, some good advice here for everybody. Just give it a couple days and give yourself some time too when you've got some downtime before tackling these updates. Well, Adrian, as always, we certainly appreciate your insight on this, and for much more on those updates and what Adrian has to say on it, you can check out his article on ZDNet. Thanks for watching, everybody.